we're actually going to move into college football here because, man, the college football playoff, I'm not going to lie, that joint was all right. Okay, let's talk about it right now. Should my guy, Jim Harbaugh, continue building Michigan as a national power, or should he chase his NFL dreams? And Dino, the mic is yours.
Oh, please. I was about to say, let me get this one real quick. Jim Harbaugh has to stay at Michigan and continue building them into a national power. What a year it was for the Big Ten. You had two teams in the playoff. You had Michigan and Ohio State in it. And, both teams, Michigan was undefeated, Big Ten champions, and then Ohio State only losing one game to Michigan. And looking at it for a little bit, I was like, wow, we really could have had a Big Ten national championship game. Michigan, Ohio State in the national championship. It was looking like that for a little bit in both games. Michigan fans are going to say, oh, the targeting call on the fourth down, or they're going to say, which, I agree with this one, when they got the interception and then the ref spotted the ball on their own 49 instead of TCU's 49, to where they threw that long ball where they were down at the 1 yard line. Should have been a touchdown. I agree with them on that, but if ands or buts, the statement that we have to make here is that Jim Harbaugh has to stay at Michigan and build them into a national power. The progress he's made, it's taken him a while. It's not easy in college. You don't got free agents. You don't got contracts that the kids are going to sign. Now you do with the NIL, but even still, you got to recruit. You have to build up a program, which Jim Harbaugh has done. And it took him a little while, but now he's seeing the results that he needed to see. Last year, he beats Ohio State for the first time. Now he beats him again. He's going back-to-back college football playoff appearances, back-to-back Big Ten championships. He's getting there. He's on the cusp. Georgia, as great as they are, which I think they're going to win the national championship, Georgia's beatable. Ohio State missed the kick at the end. And that TCU game, that was a toss-up. Michigan should have won, in my opinion, but, TCU's they're no slouches, even though everyone was saying writing them off right off the bat because they lost to Kansas State in the Big 12 championship. But still, like TCU, they had a tough schedule. They really showed out. They showed up all season, and none of Michigan for hang their heads about. It was unfortunate what happened with some of the calls, but I think Jim Harbaugh's got to stay and keep building this program because they're right on the cusp. They're right there. He could do it.
Tyree?
I'm going to say this. I don't know why any college coach that has a big-time college job, Michigan, Alabama, any of these big-time programs, I do not know why they would want to go to the NFL. The one thing I do disagree with Dean on is this. Well, I don't think he necessarily said this, but I do want to kind of say something about what he said. It's a whole lot easier to win in college than it is in the NFL. And the reason why I say that is this. You look at somebody like Nick Saban. Up until this year, he's made the playoffs every year. Since he's left, I don't have it right in front of me, but since he left the Miami Dolphins to go to Alabama, he's been pretty much successful. I don't know if he had a bad season here or there. Like I said, I'm not looking at it. But I think it's a lot easier to coach in college. Jim Harbaugh could sit in college until he wants to retire and pretty much be a top 5, top 10 team every year and be good. Even though 2 years ago, a lot of people was calling for his job. I do remember that. But you'll stay a top-ranking college coach longer than you will in the NFL program. We've seen it with guys like Nick Saban when he was with the Dolphins. We've seen it with other guys as well. Bobby Petrino. I believe Bobby Petrino was with the Falcons for a little bit. So, we've seen it stay in college. And then, like he said, I do agree with this. He has to get them to the national championship. He has to. In order for him to think about leaving, he has to give them the national championship.
Look, I will respectfully disagree with both they are, even though y'all made some valid points, and I'm gonna explain it. You see, the point that you made, Tyree, about you don't know why college coaches leave and depart for the NFL. I would say this:
big time college coaches.
Yeah, big time. I can say this, right? For an example, because you're probably always gonna have a job in college, regardless. For an example, take Urban Meyer and the lackluster job he did in Jacksonville. You think if he didn't go to a small school, or even a Big Ten school, he won't get an offer, despite how terrible he looked in the NFL? He's always going to have a job because he's that polarizing and he's a top-level coach. So I feel like even if you want to take that leap, if you're Jim Harbaugh, you can take that leap, fail, because we do know the NFL and how it gets down. Professional coaching is not easy. You can always come back and build another program. I would disagree in that area. But I would say this, though. I think in the game, they look sloppy. Michigan did. They look very sloppy. I mean, their quarterback, JJ McCarthy, he threw 2 pick-sixes that gave TCU 14 points in the game. Okay, now they narrowed the gap 41-38. And then what happened after that? Okay, Max Duggan found Quentin Johnson on a blitz by Michigan, taking it 76 yards to the house. So every time Michigan tried to narrow the gap, they couldn't stop a nosebleed. They couldn't stop a door from closing. They couldn't stop a senior citizen. It was just that type of game. It was sloppy. TCU was the more physical team, which, from a Big 12 perspective, you don't expect that team to be more physical than a Big 10 team that won the Big 10. Like, you just don't expect it. But I think if you're Jim Harbaugh, his interest is chasing his NFL dreams. That's the reason why he interviewed for the job of Minnesota last year, even though he didn't get it, because he wants to coach in the NFL. So I think it's only a matter of time. Even though he did sign an extension with Michigan, I think if the right opportunity presents itself, he's taking it without a doubt. And you know what that opportunity may be? It may be the Denver Broncos. Okay, a team with a top 5 defense. Actually, you could argue the best defense in the league. Okay, and they need a coach to just fire their cat, Nathaniel Hackett. I think he looks over there. They can pay him the big bucks because they have the money. They have like the 12th richest person in America. Condoleezza Rice is making decisions as well over there. They got a connection together. I think he ends up in Denver. I'm actually going to call it right now. I think my guy, Jim Harbaugh, is going to end up being the head coach of the Denver Broncos. Lil Shadamas on the mic.
I will say this. So what does he gain by going to the NFL?
I mean, I think what he gains is, he's back in the league. NFL's kingpin. He has a chance to be the hero of a team that, although they had a terrible year, Russell Wilson looked shot. He has an opportunity to build them back up and look like the hero in that operation and get paid a lot of money. That's why you want to coach.
He's already making a lot of money, though. You got like, for instance, Nick Saban makes $11.5 million a year. It's only 2 NFL coaches that make more money than him. Only 2.
It's still the NFL, though. Like, it's the hierarchy. First of all, if you're talking about legacy here, right? Let's talk about legacy. Forget about the money and that, side of the bracket. Let's talk about the legacy. Because right now, I'm looking at his record right now. 1-6 in bowl games at Michigan. Okay, Michigan came up short in 2 Orange Bowls, Outback Bowl, Peach Bowl, Fiesta. Okay, and is actually losing 6 straight. So do you want your legacy to be, I am this prominent coach in college, making all this loot, but to tell you the truth, I ain't really that good when it counts. Like, nah, you can go in the NFL, make good money too, and still chase your dream. That's what you want. Go get it. It's there.
Yeah, but if you get up in there and you have 2 bad seasons, you're going to be like Nathaniel Hackett. Well, he had 1 bad season. Not to say that he didn't deserve to get fired, but I mean, we've seen it, man. Les Miles came to the NFL, right? It ain't been a whole lot of college coaches that brought their behind up here and been successful. Not to say that Jim Harbaugh, he was successful when he was with the 49ers. I was upset when we got rid of him. Pete Carroll's been successful, but it's not been a whole lot of guys. Like we got to keep it 100. It ain't a gang of college coaches coming up here and dominating. It's not that.
But I would say this, though. You do have a brother who's, dominating in the NFL at one point. I won't say now, because you can slightly call Mr. John Harbaugh a little bit overrated in this light right here in this era. But you do have that family tree. I actually would argue, based on you getting the 49ers to the NFC Championship game.
I just said he was successful with the 49ers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the point is,
he had 1 bad season. What happened to him? They fired him. He had 1 bad season. That last season he had was a bad season. They fired him. That's not happening in college.
But I would say this, though, and Zeno, I'm gonna let you jump in here. That's the point. You can go to Denver, fail, and end up back still making good money and still having a future in coaching in the collegiate level.
We seen Roy Williams win championships at UNC. He had some bad seasons. They had 1 season where I don't think they made the NIT. They had another season where they were in the NIT. I didn't hear nobody calling for him. Get Roy Williams out of there. He needs to be fired. That didn't happen because it's college.
Go ahead, Dino. Add some.
NFL, that happens. Get him out of there.
I mean, like, you guys both make valid points. I mean, Tyree definitely right is that, look, if Jim Harbaugh, he leaves Michigan, his alma mater, which he's definitely passionate about and he wants to win with. If he leaves and he goes to, let's say, I don't know, let's say he goes to Denver. I mean, I can't see him winning in Denver for like, 3, 4, 5 years. I can't see it. And if he has one bad season with the Broncos, like if he has the Hackett type season, or he's like what 6-10 or something, 6-11, bro, he's getting clipped, and then he's out of there, and then he's not gonna be able to go back to Michigan because Michigan gonna have somebody else. And I don't know. I feel like for him, he's got to do what's best for Jim Harbaugh at the end of the day. But from the way I see it, is like, look, go out there, chase that chip with Michigan because you're right there, you're on the cusp. I mean, and like you said, I totally forgot about the 2 pick sixes. That's right. You gave them 14 points right there. So imagine forget the whole, ball on TCU 49 compared to the Michigan 49 or vice versa. And when you got the interception, forget the whole targeting thing. Because like if you don't do that, the 2 pick sixes, you win the game. You're fine. So, I mean, you're right there. You just got to be more clinical when it matters most. I agree with you on that, Leo. It's like, look, if you're 2-7 in bowl games as the head coach, I mean, count the Big Ten championships, but it's like you gotta be more clinical when it matters most. Get that Brady blood in you, and you just gotta be more clinical. But you're right there. You're literally right there. I mean, this year especially. This year it was wide open. Even though Georgia being the powerhouse defending champions that they are, it was a wide open year. I mean, I think Georgia beats TCU, but I mean, both the Big Ten teams. They were right there. They could have done it, but
I will say this: it took the Big Ten, other than Ohio State, a while to realize that they had to recruit better.
Yeah,
like Notre Dame realized. Notre Dame realized it too. They had to take a page out of the SEC book until you start getting those guys, them big linemen that can run those fast speeds and the athletes. That's one thing I think it took Jim Harbaugh and them. That's why it took him a couple of years to get his recruits in there and get those guys right.
I mean, theoretically, maybe, I'm not going to say it is, but there's an argument that could be made that being a coach in the collegiate level, although your job, especially if you're a prominent coach, is more secure than the professional leagues, it's kind of harder. It's a 24/7 year operation, recruiting, all the little intangibles before you actually coach on a football stage, in a football game. I think he doesn't want to deal with all that. I think he just wants to be that guy who he is, that motivational speaker who coaches up a defense. And the Broncos have that for him to literally, these guys are making money. You can kind of sit back a little bit, even though the fear of your job security, I don't even think it's a real thing right now because they fired Nathaniel Hackett. We all know Russell Wilson is the elephant in the room as well. I'm not sure if they're going to fire him after year 1. They're probably going to be like, listen, we have a Russell Wilson problem. Because chances are, if Russell Wilson is that guy you paid for, top dollar, a Hall of Fame quarterback, and y'all can't make the playoffs both years in a row, then you need to ask yourself, what's this guy over here, Russell Wilson, doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's up? Should we get off that contract and we can find a way? So that's why I think he'll probably have a couple years to get it right. Not to mention the connections that I stated in my first lap with him and Condoleezza Rice and all those connections there, even though it probably don't mean nothing. But still, I think he will have a little bit of time to actually find success on Denver. And let's say he does get fired, he'll end up back in another program. It's just like Urban Meyer retiring. Okay, I retired from Florida. I got back to Ohio State, another program that's elite and made them into a power and won a national championship.